Well, that last season of Game of Thrones was something, wasn't it? But it's kind of left us in a bit of an incestuous pickle. Now that it's done and we might have to wait until potentially 2019 for the next episode, how are we going to fill the time? Well, for normal people, it would probably be friendship, work, family, holidays. But we're gamers. We know the real answer to this is just to immerse ourselves in video games until the time comes that we can switch the channel back over. But if you're panicking and you just don't know which game to play until that glorious moment, fear not, my pale friends, for I will deliver yet another sermon on the Mountain Dew for each and every one of you. With this in mind, I'm Jules the Littlefinger to your hot pie, and these are 10 video games to play if you love Game of Thrones. Number 10, Final Fantasy Tactics. Upon first glance, you might write off Final Fantasy Tactics as a little childish, what with its cartoonish sprites and dated layout. However, the original Tactics game has one of the most mature and complex stories in the FF universe, and you know what makes it even better? That it's an absolute joy to play. If you're looking to get your teeth into a rewarding narrative of dead kings, civil war between once trusted allies, and an ever-expanding quest to claim the throne, then this is the game for you. It even has some direct similarities with Thrones, as the game is based on the real-life War of the Roses and the conflict between the houses York and Lancaster, which were also the inspiration points for the Starks and the Lannisters. See, it's educational, these lists as well. You're welcome. Number 9, The Banner Saga. Choice, battle tactics, relentless hardship. The Banner Saga is a beautiful piece of gaming which will not only break you down and rebuild you as a survivalist in this cold, cruel world, but also resonates greatly with the themes of Game of Thrones. There's always a twist, always an uneasy alliance in place that could collapse at any moment, and the tension that permeates the game is a beautiful monster. The atmosphere of this title is incredible as well, with a fantastic art style accompanied by music which will haunt you long after the game has left you in pieces. Number 8, the Dark Souls series. So while the first two games have focused on plot and storytelling, Dark Souls isn't so easy to digest. In fact, it's only the truly dedicated who will get all the ins and outs of this franchise. However, if you do dare to delve, you'll find worlds which are steeped in lore, where every item has a story, where every location is important to the rise and downfall of races and kingdoms, just like Thrones. While the TV series is complicated enough, the books have enough extra content in it for even the drowned god to sink in. The dark medieval fantasies of both Thrones and Souls showcase a level of care that is nearly unseen in all other mediums, and we goddamn love them for it. Number 7, Mountain Blade Warband. Fuck me, this game is amazing. 250 players charging around a battlefield trying to tear each other limb from limb. It's honestly like playing through the Battle of the Bastards each and every round. And wouldn't you know it, the modding community has even made a ton of Game of Thrones inspired areas and items to really immerse you in the mud and blood of the books. It's unbelievable fun and will satiate your lust for battle, at least until the return of the show. Number 6, XCOM Enemy Within. A science fiction strategy game set during a global alien invasion in the near future might seem like a strange recommendation for a Game of Thrones fan. However, you can draw some comparisons with the threat of an incoming unrelenting alien force with that of the White Walkers, and even more so if you play Enemy Within, the expansion to XCOM Enemy Unknown. The reason being that this DLC showcases betrayal on an unprecedented scale, with humans siding with the alien invaders and undoing all the good work of your noble cause. Much like old dead Stark here. Losses are commonplace in the XCOM universe, as is the grief when you lose one of your named and upgraded soldiers, which in itself is yet another thing that Thrones fans are very accustomed to. Number 5, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Rumour has it that at one point Bethesda were actually going to make a Game of Thrones title, then at the last minute pulled out and just made Skyrim. You can already see that a land of dragons, civil war, and enough undead to satiate a necrophiliac's dry dreams plays well into the ethos of Game of Thrones, as does the concept of being able to control dragons in a way that others can't. Hello, Danny. The world of Skyrim is a cold and unforgiving place, but it begs to be explored, and you can easily find yourself embroiled in the daily events of adventuring, combat, and magic. While very few would argue that the storytelling chops of the game are better than the show, this is pretty damn close to living the actual tone of the books. Number 4, the Game of Thrones Telltale Game Series. I mean, it's called Game of Thrones, and it's a game about Game of Thrones. I don't really know how else to sell it to you. It's pretty good, if that helps. Number 3, Total War Warhammer. For fans of the show that love the large-scale battles, skirmishes, sieges, negotiating and backstabbing politics, it's easy to recommend any of the Total War games, as they offer pretty similar experiences with an incredible amount of depth. But for those of you who want to delve into the fantasy side of things, Total War Warhammer is the way to go. In this, you get to take control of the Empire as they fend off the hordes of chaos, similar to how the final season of the show is destined to end up. Number 2. Dragon Age Inquisition. Released in 2014, Dragon Age Inquisition covers just about everything a Game of Thrones fan could ask for. Political intrigue, distrust, difficult negotiations, and an unstoppable evil on the way, all the while you're trying to settle civil unrest. Oh, and it's also got f***ing dragons. Playing as the Inquisitor, gamers influence and manage the deployment of troops and agents on a battle map with a council of trusted advisors and allies. This type of planning ahead can influence the time and effort undertaken in a particular region, as well as the rewards. It's enough to make anyone feel like they're King of the North, directing their next assault against the evils of Westeros. And number 1, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The Witcher series rightly challenges Game of Thrones in terms of content, characters, and violence, so much so that Netflix are making headway with a TV adaptation of the books. Much like Game of Thrones, The Witcher 3 is explicit in its depiction of a war-torn world filled with corruption, racism, and prejudice. And as an open-world RPG, The Witcher 3 and its expansions are almost unrivaled in terms of story and characterization. Therefore, this entry is not only a great recommendation of a series to play, but will hopefully make it onto your list of shows to watch after Thrones is finished. You know, just like replacing one set of drugs for another. Brilliant stuff. And that's our list. Got any other Games of Thrones-like titles for our throne of games? Well, let me know about them in the comments section below. And why not swing by whatculture.com for more news and articles like this every goddamn day. As always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon.